Hey guys, welcome back to the Espresso Outlet YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look at the DF64V Gen 2 and how is it different from the DF64V Gen 1. So off to the right over here we have the Gen 1 model, and off to the left we have the Gen 2 model. So first things first, they look pretty much identical, and for the most part they are pretty much identical, but there are a couple things that I think are going to be welcome additions that we wanted to let you know about. So let's just go through some of the changes. The first change, if you look off to the right, you can see that the lowest RPM setting is 600 RPMs. So this is the Gen 1 model. It went from 600 to 1800 RPMs. And since it's a flat burr and a relatively small flat burr, you really don't need to go that slow, in our opinion. So a lot of people, they would run it really slow at a really fine setting. You're really not getting much benefit out of that for espresso, and people were having some issues with the stalling. So on the Gen 2 model, we opted to have it at a lowest setting of 800 RPMs, and I've had good luck with it running at 800 RPMs, although we don't really recommend running it at 800 RPMs in a very small setting like for espresso. Where you're really going to see the biggest benefit of your slow RPMs is with your drip coffee. So while running it a bit slow, maybe like 1200 or 1000 RPMs on espresso is great, you're really going to find the biggest improvement when it comes to your filter coffees, such as like a V60. So we thought that this would be the best all-around benefit to cap it at a low setting of 800 and the highest setting of 1800 RPM. So that's the first difference between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 model. Next, what we're going to cover is something that I think everyone is going to be super excited about, and that is the ion generator or plasma generator. So up underneath inside the chute, there is actually two little probes that make a small amount of plasma. And what does this ion gen or plasma generator do? Well, when you have a lot of really staticky chaff, the chaff will want to stick to the chute, it'll want to stick to your countertop, and it makes quite a bit of a mess. Now, I do think that a lot of people, they hear that it has this and they think that it's just magic and you're going to get no mess, and that's just simply not true of really any grinder. Any grinder is still going to have a certain amount of mess, but it is definitely considerably less. Make sure to hang on in this video because we're going to do a side-by-side test at the very end of it. But just letting you know, this ion gen has been something that's been asked for quite a bit in the past, and it is finally in the DF64V Gen 2. Now another question that we're getting a lot is, are you going to have retrofit kits for the Gen 1 model? And the answer to that is no. At least not at this time, but we're not planning to do it. So the last thing that is a big improvement is the slow feeder disc. And on the Gen 1 model, it was actually an option that we could have the slow feeder disc, and we did test it out. We just really found like it didn't work very well. It was very awkward in the way that it worked. We felt that maybe it didn't allow enough beans to go in, and it just tended to cause its own issues. So we said on the Gen 1 model, we really don't want that slow feed disc. So when I opened up the Gen 2 model, I was thinking, oh, here we go again. I mean, it's not gonna be that good. And they have really upgraded the way that it works. They've really kind of calculated how many beans should go into those burrs at any given time. And I feel like it works fantastic. So my experience, at least so far, has been very positive on the slow feed disc. So I am going to set up, we'll do two different grind sessions. One will be at a kind of an intermediate RPM and a fine setting. We'll probably put it on 15. That's usually where I'm at for espresso. And we'll do a side-by-side comparison of how much static and chaff is on both of these grinders. And then what we'll do is we'll set it on like setting 60 or so, which is kind of where I'm at for like a V60. It might not be perfect, but we're going to set both of them the same RPM and the same setting, and then we'll take some close-up pictures and show you. Okay, so we're all set up, and just for consistency's sake, I put 16 grams of coffee beans. They're the same beans from the same roast, same origin, same everything, into each grinder. And what we're going to do is we're gonna hot start each grinder. I'll let you know they are both set on setting 15, and they are both set on 1400 RPM. So we're going to start with this DF64V Gen 1. We'll just let it run, use the bellow, and turn it off. And then now we're going to go on to the DF64V Gen 2. So they both take about the same amount of time. At the very end, you're going to get those fines coming out. In terms of retention, they're going to be more or less the same. But let's take a close-up look of the static cling. So today I really feel like the Gen 1 model was fairly clean. There are other days where it's more dry and you will get quite a bit more static buildup. But you can see on the inside, we do have, make sure it's focusing. I'm not sure if it's focusing very well. Okay, so you will have some static cling to the top. Now this does come off very easily. This is all just really static cling. Same on the inside of this chute. On the second model, it is a monolithic piece, so it comes off as one piece instead of two. And you can see on the inside, it's very clean. You can see all over the body of the grinder, it's very clean. So I feel like the ion generator does a very good job at reducing that static. So let's get set up for one more test. I really find the static to be much worse on a larger grind setting because you are going to have those chaff particles that aren't going to be ground into the coffee grounds themselves. So you're going to have that chaff want to stick to the outside of the grinder. And that's where I see the biggest mess. So let's get set up for that real quick. Okay, so here we are set up for our last test. And this is what I mentioned. We're going to have it on a more drip setting. So I set both of the grinders to setting 60. And I set both of them to 800 RPMs, which is as slow as they can both go and be consistent between the two. So we're going to start with the DF64V Gen 1. Quite a few particles of chaff stuck to the body. Like I mentioned, chaff, it's really lightweight, and when you grind, it makes a lot of static. So I'm not surprised to see that. There is no RDT. I will let you know there's no RDT on this either. On the DF64V Gen 2 with the ion generator, we are getting a couple little pieces stuck to the back. Really common, just regardless of the grinder. But in my opinion, it is just so much cleaner. Okay, so let's take that last front on look. We have our Gen 1 model, and we'll open up that top piece, and you can see there's quite a bit of chaff particles stuck to the grinder. Now, I do find if you use RDT that this is very minimalized, but we wanted to keep this as controlled as possible. You can kind of just shake the chute, and most of that will come out. On the Gen 2 model, again, we have this monolithic style chute. It's pretty much perfectly clean. I'm wanting it against a wall that you can see. It's pretty much perfectly clean. You are getting a couple particles here at the very back, but it's so minimal that, I mean, it's no different than like a DF64 Gen 2 or like my Eureka, because even those Eurekas that are just known for having extremely clean grinding, they still have a couple particles get free. So this wraps up this video. If this is something that you found helpful as you are making decisions on if this grinder is right for you, or maybe you have a different grinder that you're looking for, we have quite a few other videos, so check out our YouTube channel. Consider doing the like and subscribe thing. It makes it a lot more fun for us to make this content for you guys. If you have any specific questions on the DF64V Gen 2, that's really what this video is about. So make sure to drop those comments below, or you can shoot us an email at sales@espressooutlet.com. But for today, thanks for watching.